Hello, Tubies, and how are you all doing? I hope you're doing fantastically fabulous, and if you're not, well, I don't really know how to help you, but I love you, okay? Even if you don't love you, I love you, and that's all that really matters. I wanted to talk today about how the witchy community is dead. It's dead. You're like, I watch X and Y and Z and A and B and C and D, and there's so many letters of the alphabet, and I watch these people on YouTube, so don't try. The witchy community is dead. A long time ago, when I started the Witchy show, there was a lady named Tequila, the lady grave dancer. And she was the focal point of the witchy YouTube community. Whether she saw herself as that or not is besides the point. She was, in essence, the center, the sun, the thing that all of the witchy channels orbited around. And then the sun died. Well, she didn't die, thank the Lord. But she left, sort of. I don't really know what's going on. But when she took her really long break, came back, did some videos, and then took off again for whatever reason, be it family, work, life commitment, so on and so forth, the witchy show, or not the witchy show, the witchy community saw a revival of sorts, but then died. And I think when a community centers itself around one person and then that person leaves, the community dies. Because the smaller individuals in the community don't get the recognition or the support that they might have been getting when the sun was shining, right? So if we look at, say, for example, the beauty community, if Jeffree Star left the beauty community, there isn't another big name to take his place. You might be thinking, well, there's James Charles, but he's got all kinds of legal issues that you can look up on YouTube yourself that he's currently going through. So that's not going to work. The witchy community is a community, or was a community, of witches who would upload content on a regular basis. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't still witchy channels, but if you look at these witchy channels at the time the sun was shining, compared to now, their views, their subscribers, their content, their upload times, all of that stuff went down the drain. Because the sun is no longer shining. Now, you might be saying, okay, it's not cool to put people on pedestals, and I'm not attempting to put anybody on a pedestal. I'm just objectively looking at the witchy community today as opposed to how it was in the past. You can't deny that when Tequila, Sunshine Morning Ray, Ravenflower, Wednesday, who else? Raven Ways, and so on and so forth. My cat was trying to get into my drink. Was more active on YouTube and talking more about witchy related content, that their views, their subscribers, their content, and all of that stuff got more attention. I'm not talking about my channel, like no one cares about my channel. I'm talking about the community as a whole. I think people are very, you hear my cats in the background, but no one cares. I think people are very tired of the witchy community. They're tired of hearing the same thing over and over again. And I think one of the reasons that even my channel doesn't get the views and the interaction as much is because people have heard it over and over and over again. They're tired of the same content. They're tired of the same everything. How many videos have you seen where people talk about 10 signs you're a real witch, or 5 signs that you're witchy, or 5 books you should read about witchcraft, or 6 herbs you should use in your next spell, or, like those types of videos? How many times have you seen those videos? Whether they be from big name channels or whether they be from smaller channels. How many book reviews have you sat through? And how many of those book reviews have been on books that other witches on YouTube have already covered? It's one thing to get a perspective or multiple different perspectives. It's another thing when it becomes you drowning in an ocean of perspectives. I guess my main point is that there is no individuality in the witchy community. There's some in terms of how witches practice their magic. For example, if you look at the Blue Witch and you compare her to the Witch of Seacliff and you compare them to my craft, it's completely different all around the board. None of it's the same. And it's interesting. It's very interesting. That's where there's some individuality, but I don't think that people care about other witches showing off their craft or sharing their workings or sharing their opinions, really. I don't think people are really interested in the witchy community on YouTube anymore. And you can clearly see that if you go to, say, the Blue Witch's channel and you look at her content and you look at her views and you go back in time. Okay, she was gaining, drop. Just complete drop, 180 drop. And I don't understand why. People like Ravenways, they talk about astrology and they talk about, there's some witchy content on there, but not as much as there used to be. And I think the reason for that is because we've said everything there is to say. We've talked about everything there is to talk about, whether it's in relation to our craft, whether it's in relation to tidbits people have taught us that we're sharing, whether it's in relation to anything, really. And I wonder if people are tired of the witchy community. There's a lot of big names that don't post anymore. There's a lot of big names who have, unfortunately, and may they rest in peace, passed on. And I think that when people die, or they leave the witchy community, or they maybe transition to a different religious, spiritual path, like some people have transitioned to Christianity, and that caused a bit of an uproar in the witchy community, which I think was really unfair and inappropriate, and really showed that the witchy community is not as open-minded and not as accepting as we like to make ourselves out to be. A lot of witches today are doing interviews with other witches, but what happens when you interviewed everybody there is to interview and talked about the same subject, or talked about every subject? What happens then, right? You just leave YouTube and then your entire subscriber base just kind of shuts off with you. Some people have talked about how people don't want long form videos anymore. They want the 60-second TikTok videos. But as I have stated, and it's my opinion, that you can't learn anything off of TikTok. I mean, what are you able, like, if they were able to be like 3 to 5 minute long videos, then absolutely, I would rush to TikTok and I would do TikTok videos. But today I uploaded like 6 videos talking about some books that I had bought that I will talk about here later once I've had a chance to read them, talking about some incense, talking about new altar cloth, talking about journals that I bought, stuff like that. And I think people, they want their information in Pinterest form, where it's pretty and it's gorgeous and they don't have to think and it can just be fed to them. Even in Facebook groups, people don't really ask about education. They're just like, give me a spell to get rid of this person. I don't want to hear about how I should just break up with them. I want a spell for breaking up with them. And I think that the craft has become so diluted with people's misconceptions of what the craft is. It's just become this quick fix, run to the altar, blah, blah, blah. Look, it's pretty. I put it on Instagram. Oh, I burned a candle. I don't want to take the time to learn how to read it or how to communicate with my ancestors or spirits or deities or whatever, so I'm just going to post it on Facebook and ask people to read it for me, and I'm probably going to get a lot of misinformation, or I'm going to get answers that doesn't make any sense, but I'm going to run with it because I am, as mean as this will sound, too lazy to do even an inch of work. The witchy community has become fragmented across multiple social media platforms. On TikTok, there's this fight over what is a real witch, what is a fake witch. There is this fight over, you can't talk about this because you're not experienced enough, or I've had some comments on videos here on YouTube that really make me feel bad, where they're like, oh, you're not working with Dentalian, I call BS, or this whole video is BS, or you don't know what you're talking about, or you're not a real witch, or, and it's just, it's fascinating because it's just trolls. That's all it is. And I don't really let it get to me. I just delete the comments and I move on. But at the end of the day, it's like, I've told people that they should start making YouTube videos because we do need new witches in the community. We need people who want, and the key word here is want, to share their opinions, who want maybe to share their craft, who want to talk about books they're reading, who want to talk about their favorite incense, who want to talk about tarot cards. I mean, there's a huge tarot card community on YouTube, and there's also a huge kind of bullet journaling community on YouTube. And it'd be really fascinating to see witches talk about that in relation to their craft. Do you bullet journal? Do you use tarot cards? There's a huge crystal community on YouTube where they talk about various different crystals, not necessarily in relation to witchcraft, but just in general, from be it a collector to a new age spiritualist, all of that stuff. But it's my opinion that the witchy community is dead. And it's been dead for a long time. It lost its central focus. I mean, you can't deny it. Anytime Tequila uploads a video to YouTube, it's got 1,000 views in less than a day, and it has hundreds of comments and all of that fun stuff. And for a moment, it feels like the witchy community has come back to life. I don't feel that way when Ravenways uploads a video on witchy, with witchy content in it. She gets a lot of views, she gets a lot of comments. Ember Honeyraven, with her older videos before the drama of her life happened, there was, the same kind of feeling. It felt like there was a community of people that you could interact with. And the witchy community on YouTube feels stagnant, it feels empty, it feels lonely, it feels meaningless. And I have a couple of videos coming in the next not this week, but next week, talking about, essentially they're titled The Nothing to Talk About Downward Spiral. And it essentially boils down to this. There is nothing left to talk about in terms of witchy content. I do have some ideas of things to talk about, but then that leads me to question, am I just saying the same thing that somebody else has said 10 times over? Am I just talking in circles? Is anybody really gaining anything from this? Do people even care anymore? And it's not about the views. It's not about the subscribers. It's not about the likes or the dislikes or the comments or the no comments. It's about what people want. And I don't think anybody has really taken the time to sit down and ask you, the person who's physically watching this, taking time out of their precious day to watch this video, what do you want from the witchy community? What kind of content are you interested in? What kind of content don't you like? What kind of content do you want to watch for days and days on end? What kind of content makes you want to unsubscribe and run away? Whether it's my channel, whether it's Amber Honeyraven's channel, whether it's Ravenway's channel, whether it's Tequila's channel, whoever, it doesn't matter. This is channel agnostic. What kind of content from the dying, depleted, witchy community on YouTube are you looking for?